Welcome back to another edition of, we were going to call this the NFL Sunday Blitz, or Tuesday Blitz, excuse me, but the name on this podcast is kind of up in the air. We're either going to go with A&J's Pro Football Focus or the NFL Blitz. It's still kind of up in the air, so we're still deciding that. Today it's just going to be me doing the podcast by myself. Obviously, this half of Videocast 2, that's going to be on YouTube. Last edition, it was just solely audio. So I think I'm going to start doing this and putting this up on YouTube as well with the video of it. My partner in crime, Anthony, who's going to be doing this with me weekly, you know, we're in the process of trying to make this as a professional style of podcast, yet make it informative and fun. And, you know, I want to try to get the audio up on iTunes and SoundCloud to where, you know, hopefully if this catches fire, you know, which I'm hoping it does, you know, it'll be available in other formats. That way you can watch it on here, or, you know, you could download it on SoundCloud, or you could download it off of iTunes. So basically, I'm trying to make, for all you guys wondering, since I'm known for my baseball videos on here, from here on out, you know, I'm trying to make my videos a little bit more professional and, you know, get my name out there a little bit more, because I'm going to be going back to school for journalism, and I want to do broadcast media and everything else like that, you know. So this is what I want to do, and so from here on out, you know, I want to make this a little bit more professional, but still make it fun and informative for you guys, because, you know, I'm not one of those people that beats around the bush and has fake opinions. You know, I still want it to hit home with you guys, you know. So that's what this is going to be about. Today, as I said, I'm flying solo, and it's not going to be an uber-long podcast because I want to try to keep these under a half hour. But here we go. Without further ado, like I said, we got a nice little topic of things to talk about today, and hope you guys enjoy the video. So here we go. Roger Goodell, yet again, looks like a complete moron. The judge, Richard Berman, ruled that Tom Brady's suspension was unjust, and that based on the evidence that the NFL had against Tom Brady, that there was not enough to uphold the 4-game suspension. Basically, everyone knows about deflategate. I don't even want to talk about deflategate. I have no idea why this was so big. Jay Feely came out and talked about him doctoring footballs a few years ago, I think back in 2009. Aaron Rodgers talked about how he liked the balls to be overinflated. For these people to think that Tom Brady was going to get in trouble for this when the NFL spent millions of dollars on this Ted Wells report, and the best thing that Ted Wells could come up with was that he was generally aware of perhaps that something was going on with the footballs. How can you try someone for being generally aware? You can't. That is no evidence. There's nothing that says in that Ted Wells report that Tom Brady participated in deflating footballs. Now, do I think that Tom Brady knew something was going on with these footballs and that, you know, that something was going on? Oh, yeah. But every single quarterback does something like this to get a competitive edge. People are making such a big deal out of this because it's the New England Patriots. It's the Super Bowl champs. You have Colts fans that are still mad that they got wrecked by 3+ scores again by the Patriots, and they're going to blame it on deflated footballs when they got run all over and they lost by 3+ scores, and they haven't been competitive with the Patriots in any games in a couple of years. So, and then you got the whole Spygate scandal after this one of the Patriots Super Bowls, a couple of their Super Bowls. So, you know, that's why it's a whole big deal, because it's Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, in a market where people aren't very friendly of because of past history of supposedly cheating, when every team uses the same kind of, I guess we could call it competitive balances that the New England Patriots take advantage of. Take baseball, for example. You had guys like Gaylord Perry and the Negro brothers, you know, using emery boards and spitting on their hands or doctoring the baseball. You know, look at, for example, Mike Fiers for the Houston Astros, just pitched a no-hitter a couple weeks ago, and there's pictures of inside of his glove of pine tar. You know, it's the same premise. But this makes Roger Goodell look even worse. He has failed miserably as the commissioner. With this new CBA, you know, the owners want Goodell to be the judge, the juror, and the executioner. And every time he has these rulings, which, by the way, I don't get. Let's take a quick look at the Ray Rice case. Ray Rice came out fully admitted that he hit his wife. We never heard anything about a video for the longest time. That was swept under the rug. Yet, Josh Gordon was suspended for smoking some pot. 11 games. So wait a sec. One guy's going to smash a bag of chips after he's done doing his illegal thing, which is not even illegal in every state anymore. One guy smashes his wife in the face, and he got 2 games initially, and the other guy got 11. But then, as soon as the video came out, which Roger Goodell never made any mention of, even though the video was available from the start and the league never made any mention of it, he got all of a sudden suspended indefinitely. Now, he's pretty much blacklisted because no one's looking to sign him, even though there's been rumblings of Cleveland. Goodell got overturned on that. The AP case, that went to court. Got overturned on that. His suspension got reduced. Roger Goodell, every time he goes to do anything, his decisions keep getting overturned. And Judge Berman even came out and said that he was going over his power based on evidence they had against Tom Brady, that it was you couldn't do what they were trying to do to Tom Brady. Now, I felt that Brady should have never been suspended from the get-go, first off, because I don't think, like other people, that the deflation of footballs, which ESPN has come out and said that, their story may have been wrong about 11 of the 12 footballs being underinflated, and they actually apologized to the Patriots about it. So, with all this going on, and then you try to suspend this guy for 4 games, it was bound and determined to get overturned. Because you can't suspend someone on generally aware. Someone could get shot outside my house right now. If I was generally aware that a shooting went on, and I could point the guy out, even though I didn't see him do it, but I was generally aware the situation went on and I saw a guy running, even though I didn't see him do it, how's he going to get charged for it? You can't. And this makes Roger Goodell look bad. It makes it look like the league has no chance, that the players' union rules the league. The league is essentially, it's just like a monarchy. The king and queen, they're essentially a face with everyone underneath them running it. And Roger Goodell is essentially a face with the players' union running the league. Because every time he hands down a suspension, players go and run and appeal it, and he loses. And the owners, the Maras have come out and talk. I think John Mara come out and talk about it. About they need to go in and look at what to do about this whole situation. Owners need to come and look at what they need to do about Roger Goodell and the way punishments are being handled down and handled. So I was happy Brady got vindicated and the suspension was withdrawn. I really was, even though I fully think that he knew what was going on. You can't give someone a suspension for 4 games for being generally aware, and there were so many holes in that Ted Wells report, and it was an unjust penalty for something that I felt was not a big deal, and you had really zero kind of proof. Now, I know the whole phone smashing thing that, Tom Brady destroyed his phone, and that looks really bad, but he was told that the phone was not a needed piece of evidence, and he always, I guess, Brady does this thing, where every couple of months he replaces his phone, because, celebrities and new phone numbers and all that stuff. I don't know what to do. I'm not a rich and famous kind of guy. So I have no idea. But it was something, people are like, well, that's the smoking gun. And a lot of people feel that that was just a PR move by the NFL to try to have some kind of evidence that Tom Brady really did cheat and he was trying to hide something. But I think they used it as a PR move to try to flip it on Tom Brady so the league would look better, so it looked like they had some kind of leg to stand on, because they knew they didn't, because the judge was going to look at the probable causes in there and see generally aware. And they knew they were going to lose the case. And they did. The NFL is appealing it. They're going to go to another higher court than where they went. And basically, this is going to be a ring around the rosy. Because these things can go on for appeals, can go on for years and years and years through higher judges. So, Roger Goodell looks awful in all of this yet again. And he's honestly the worst commissioner in professional sports. He is not good. He is not good whatsoever. So moving on, today was cut day in the NFL. Every team had to get down to 53 players. And amongst some of, I thought, the most surprising cuts, in the NFL, we're going to take a look at the few. Reggie Wayne, who was signed a contract with the Patriots about a week ago. Week and a half ago, I want to say. About a week ago. He was cut from the Patriots roster. He didn't even make the 53-man roster. This is kind of like shades of Terrell Owens a couple of years ago when he was on the Seattle Seahawks, and they cut him. He didn't even make the 53-man roster. And Reggie Wayne didn't even make it, well, which makes me think, can he even survive anywhere in the NFL? I mean, this is a guy that's knocking on the doorstep of 40. He's coming off injuries over the last couple of years. He hasn't been healthy. A lot of people have called him, the last couple of years one of the worst wide receivers in the NFL based on route running ability, based on his speed being gone, based on how many miles are on those legs. So it just makes me think that Reggie Wayne, his career in the NFL, could be potentially done if he can't even make the Patriots roster. And this is a roster, that doesn't have much depth at the wide receiver position. I mean, you got guys like Brandon LaFell, and of course you got Rob Gronkowski at tight end. So Reggie Wayne, his career, I think, could officially be done. I think, he floats around for a couple of weeks, and a team really, really gets desperate for a wide receiver, he might get a call. But I think Reggie Wayne's career could be over, and I was surprised he got cut. Because I thought, he's talked about how he's feeling good, and he was ready to go. But he didn't even make it on the roster. Matt Castle, who was signed to the Bills, he did not make the cut. E.J. Manuel and Tyrod Taylor both beat him out. Of course, Taylor became the starter, and he came over from Baltimore this past year. Everyone was talking about, well, if he ever had a chance, because he was sitting behind Joe Flacco, if he ever had a chance to actually get a chance to start, he could be potentially a very good quarterback. And he showed it in preseason. He looked really good. I liked his ability to run. But I'm not a big fan of scrambling quarterbacks. I like guys that can sit in the pocket, and but I also like that Aaron Rodgers-esque kind of thing, a guy that is a tremendous pocket passer, great outstanding accuracy, but he can escape the rush and run and burn you with his legs as well. Now, Tyrod Taylor, I don't think the accuracy standpoint is nearly as good as Rodgers. Obviously, not many people are. Rodgers is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, but I do like the arm strength. I thought he possesses a very good arm. I do like he can burn you with the legs, but I'm interested to see how he survives a whole season being a mobile quarterback, a guy that runs a lot, and who's going to be exposed to some hits. So just ask Mike Vick about being hit, and just ask Sam Bradford got crushed by Terrell Suggs when he was running an option play a couple of weeks back in preseason. There was a whole big controversy thing. That was a dirty hit. So I'm interested to see that. And then Tim Tebow Mania might finally be dead. Tim Tebow was announced that he did not make the roster. Chip Kelly just said he was not good enough. Now, here's the thing. Matt Barkley got traded to the Arizona Cardinals, which logically you think that with Barkley gone, Tim Tebow moves up into the number 2 spot and he was making the roster. Now, I watched 3 of the 4 Eagles preseason games this year because one was against the Packers. I watched the one against the Redskins, and I forget who the other. I think they played the Colts as well. And Tim Tebow looks surprisingly really, really good. Now, he had some Tim Tebow throws where it's 10 yards over the guy's head, or he's throwing ducks and, just completely inaccurate. But he made some throws and, just didn't solely rely on his legs. Had some good pocket presence, showed he could move around in the pocket and stand in there. And he made some really good throws. So I thought he played better than Mark Sanchez. And I thought he played better than Matt Barkley. But apparently not. So it looks like Mark Sanchez is going to be the backup to Sam Bradford. And who they get for their third-string quarterback? Maybe Matt Castle. He's floating out there. Who knows? So Tim Tebow Mania, it's probably dead. And if he doesn't go play in the CFL or go back to ESPN, who knows? But I kind of felt bad for Tebow. I wasn't a big Tebow fan when he was in Denver. I thought Matt Prater won a lot of those games, and he had a very good defense to bail him out, a guy that was only completing like 48% of his passes. But I thought he looked good this preseason. I thought he looked a lot better than Mark Sanchez, but apparently Chip Kelly disagrees. And I thought a guy that could run a little bit, and he's actually the highest quarterback of all time for two-point conversions. I thought he would find a spot in that Eagles high-powered, quick offense. So, but apparently not. Then a couple of guys that kind of I don't know if you guys have watched Hard Knocks this year, but I've watched every single episode of the Houston Texans Hard Knocks. It's great. Bill O'Brien is a really cool guy. He just asks so much of his players, and he's a hard coach. But he's just a guy that knows how to pump up his players, and just watching J.J. Watt, his work ethic, how he's out on the field later than everyone, and he's out there for hours, just catching balls with both hands, and how he sits out there and runs extra sprints and lifts extra, and how he takes care of himself. I mean, this guy goes to bed at 8:30 every single night because he wants to get 10 hours so he can be in peak shape and peak mental form, and just to watch his drive. And then, you get attached to these third string, fourth string guys that are vying for a spot that don't have a very good chance to make it, but they're out there busting their butts off to try to do something. And, just to watch how Bill O'Brien and Mike Vrabel, he's an awesome coach, they got a great coaching staff, and they seem like a really bunch of likable guys. And, it's been a very enjoyable season. I didn't like the Atlanta Falcons Hard Knocks that much because I watched that season too, but this one's been great. It's been absolutely outstanding. And Charles James, a cornerback, who is actually good friends with Odell Beckham Jr. Of course, NFL has got to get their any chance they can to plug Madden 16, and him and Charles James were playing Madden 16 over PS4, and they're talking about it and whatnot, and they're playing one another, and which was pretty cool. But Charles James is one of my favorite guys on that show. He's a little guy, he's undersized, but he's fast, and actually he had a 73-yard touchdown run. They were actually using him as a running back slash cornerback, just as like a gadget play kind of guy, but it got called back due to holding. But I thought with his ability, maybe do that, they were going to use him in some gadget plays. And, Bill O'Brien was always talking about how he was making plays in camp that he was going to potentially make the roster. But Charles James, he didn't make the roster. They cut him. And Easy Awakachu didn't make the roster either. And I really liked Easy. This was a guy that, he had this youthfulness, like a little kid, just being like, ooh, what's that? What's that? What's that? When he went to NASA, he was just like this little kid, and, he was with his buddy who also got cut. His last name was Langford. He also got, Labhart also got cut earlier before he did, and they were hanging out doing on a swing rope in a lake, and he's just like all scared of a fish, but he just had like this youthfulness about him, and I just really liked him. He's a really easy, likable guy. And to see him both, I was really more surprised about Charles James getting cut too, because I thought he was having a great camp and everything you heard from Bill O'Brien. And one thing I really liked about how Bill O'Brien did cut days is when he'd greet the players, he wouldn't be like, well, blah blah blah, and, sugarcoat it. He'd go, "This is why you're cut. We're sad to see you go. We enjoyed you on our roster, but at the end of the day, we got to do what's best for our football team." And he would tell these guys, like, look, straight up, you weren't good enough to make the roster. Here's why you weren't good enough. And I absolutely respect that. If there's one thing me as a human being I can't stand is people that beat around the bush. If you got something to say to me, if I'm a player and I've come there and I've busted my butt, and I'm trying, and I'm out there at camp every single day, I don't want you to go tell me how good I am and how good I was, but still at the same time, you're telling me you're cutting me. Because that's just complete contradiction to me. And, I really respected how Bill O'Brien did that. And so I'm interested to see in this week's Hard Knocks, when they do Final Cut Day, see how those guys took it. And Ryan Mallett, too. I was kind of high on him, but, man, he's a guy that needs to do some growing up. So he's an excuse maker, and I'm glad to see Brian Hoyer got that job. Someone that didn't get cut, RG3, who was widely considered that wasn't going to make the 53-man roster. This whole RG3 situation just looks awful. I honestly think the Redskins are going to go through another head coach in Jay Gruden. Because, oh my God, this whole RG3 situation has been an embarrassment to the Redskins. First off, there's a report come out that the coaching staff is through with him. They're done. They're playing the Lions a few weeks ago. RG3 gets obliterated by the Lions. Ends up having a concussion. Goes to see a doctor. Doctor says he has a concussion. Don't know what his status is for week 3. Midway through the week, he's been cleared. He's going to play. All of a sudden, no, he hasn't been cleared. He can't play. Then they say the doctor originally said that he was clear, but then he said he still had concussion-like symptoms, so they're trying to blame it off on the doctor. The doctor ended up actually resigning from doing any kind of work with the NFL because of this. Because of the way the wish-washiness of the Redskins. What I think what had happened was, and any smart person that could see through the Redskins' BS, the Redskins wanted to move on from RG3. They wanted an excuse for Kirk Cousins to start the 3rd week of the preseason. After they said he was slated to start week 3, oh, well, wait a sec, we're going to yank it back. We got this whole concussion to fall back. And then RG3 wasn't saying anything about whether he was clear, whether he was not clear. So he's stuck in the middle of the crossfire of this, and he's losing his job right out from underneath him. And, there was a report that, the Redskins, when they were doing their ticket countdown, for how many days till kickoff, they got to number 10, and it just said number 10 after having, day 46, Alfred Morris and all those other guys, So it was like, man, he's about to get cut, so it was a whole bunch of controversy about where he was going to go. They couldn't trade him because he's owed a lot of money, and if he sits out, he gets actually a $16.1 million option kicks in if he's hurt, so they're screwed there on that aspect of it. But this whole situation, RG3 just needs to get out of Washington. He's gone through a couple of head coaches since he's been there. It's devastatingly apparent that he doesn't get along with the coaching staff there, and the coaching staff wants nothing to do with him, but ownership won't get rid of him because they spent so much on him to get him in Washington. Ever since his rookie year when he was amazing, he's been absolutely one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. On Pro Football Focus, he had like a negative 31 rating last year, which was one of the, I think, the worst or one of the top 5 worst in the NFL last year by any starting quarterback. But this is a guy that's been hurt. He got hurt his rookie year, hurt his knee. He kind of got rushed back last year, injured, missing time. He's been hurt again this preseason. And now he doesn't know if he was told he was a starter. Jay Gruden at the start of the preseason, like, he's going to be our guy. We're riding out this RG3 train. Then he gets hurt, and then he's cleared, and then he's not cleared, and all of a sudden he's playing, he's not playing. Oh, this is Kirk Cousins' team. It's just a whole situation that is just a cluster. And I'm not an RG3 fan. I liked Andrew Luck more from the beginning. But it's not fair to him. And how the Redskins are handling this is just absolutely atrocious. Dan Snyder and company should be ashamed of themselves. This is a representation of their team, how they're handling this. And Kirk Cousins, he's not much better than RG3. I mean, have you watched, there was an interception this year, his first game. He threw to Terrell Suggs. There was 3 Ravens around, I forget the receiver. But there was 3 Ravens. He threw it right to Terrell Suggs. I mean, this guy was a guy that came out last year, played good for a week, and that just got wrecked from there on out. And he was so bad that Colt McCoy ended up taking over. And then RG3 came back. And then Kirk Cousins took back over. And now they're going back with Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins, he's not a good quarterback. It's not. And if you're a Redskins fan, I legitimately feel bad for you. To have to watch Kirk Cousins go out there and try to play the position of quarterback, a guy that is not very accurate, he's pick prone, and I saw him made some good throws. There was a play in Seattle where, I forget what receiver it was. It might have been Deshaun Jackson. I can't remember. It might have been Pierre Garçon. But, he threw a ball right in between Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman for a big play. I mean, wow, what a beautiful throw. And then two plays later, he throws an interception right to Cam Chancellor. A bonehead play. I mean, he's absolutely terrible. So I thought that whole RG3 situation has just been handled awfully, and it just makes the Redskins organization look awful. So he needs to get out of Washington. How long it goes, but there was a lot. How long he stays there, who knows? But there was a lot of people thinking that RG3 was going to be gone, at the end of this week. For cut down day, and the Redskins were just going to eat the money, but apparently not. He's backing up. Colt McCoy's going to be 3rd string, RG3 2nd string, and you give up a lot of stuff to have this man who's supposed to be your franchise future to be playing second fiddle. But RG3 is not going to be there very long. I think there's a shot they still might cut him mid-season, depending on Kirk Cousins' play, but come this time next year, he won't be on the Redskins. Last but not least, Cam Chancellor, a guy who's actually been holding out for a contract. The Giants are supposedly interested in trading for him. I guess there's been heavy interest in potentially doing it. Cam Chancellor's trying to hold out for a contract after a couple of his teammates have been paid over the last couple of years. Cam Chancellor got a contract extension, I believe, a year ago or 2 years ago, and he feels that after some of these other players have gotten paid and gotten contract extensions, that he should be making more money. So he's holding out, and Seahawks are still refused to pay him, and he says he's going to hold out. So who knows? He might not be a Seahawk. Who knows how much it takes to get him? Because Cam Chancellor's one of the best players in the NFL. Him and Richard Sherman are absolute tanks, So who knows how much legitimacy is in that. But that's all I got for you guys today. Like I said, I hope you guys are enjoying these. I'm going to be back here with my weekly pick'ems for week 1. Me and my buddy and myself are going to be doing our weekly pick'ems here, and we're going to be doing a couple more podcasts. We still have the AFC North and the NFC North to preview, and the AFC East and the NFC East to preview yet for you guys to give our thoughts on. The name on this podcast is definitely up in air. I think A&J's Pro Football Focus is a pretty good name. What do you guys think? And I hope you enjoy these videos. I know it's not baseball, but you know, this is my new direction I'm going with. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to have, like a portfolio of videos for you guys to like. And like I said, as this goes on, I'm going to try to get these on SoundClouds and iTunes so you guys can listen to them and watch these videos on YouTube as well, so you guys get the whole experience of this. And I hope you enjoyed this. So have a good one, guys, and be back in a couple of days.